Right. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I want to welcome everybody to Chat with Charlie. We are very honored to have a great guest with us here today that off camera, we're already planning to go to lunch because we just hit it off so well. And so I just want to welcome everyone to Chat with Charlie. And I want to give a special welcome to Crystal. So, Crystal, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to be here. You are super cool. We've already been hitting it off, so let's get into it.
Absolutely. So, to kick things off, I hope you don't say no, but I would love for us to start off with a public speaking game because that is my background. I'm a public speaking coach, and I love for everybody to kind of get relaxed and just laugh a little bit before we get into the nitty gritty. So, are you willing to play with me?
I'm ready. I'm willing.
Okay, I like that attitude. Now I'm gonna switch up the game and make it even harder because it's just too comfortable for you. So, okay, this game is one of my favorites. It's called This or That.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you two different topics, and you're going to tell me which one, based on your personal preference, you would choose. And then give me just like a quick one sentence on why so that we can
Okay.
get to know you. Ready?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Cruise or resort?
Cruise. I take a cruise
Ooh.
every year because it's so relaxing and I love the water.
Okay, we're going to have to talk more about that because I leave for a cruise this weekend.
I leave for a cruise Tuesday.
What? See why we said we going to lunch together? Okay. Night or mornings?
Mornings. I am the most productive in the mornings. So I wake up every morning at 6. I run my neighborhood, walk my neighborhood, whatever I feel like doing. And I'm the most productive in the mornings.
So then do you go to bed early?
Yes, I do.
I found something that we're different on here. Okay. Spades or dominoes?
Spades. As a little girl, I remember my grandmother, my great grandmother, I remember them playing card games. The first card game I learned to play was spades, and my great grandmother taught me.
Not the first game. That's a hard game to learn first.
And she was serious about spades.
Well, it goes with your background because you're really good at math. So that
Yes.
makes sense because you teach me spades, and I'm like, not goldfish. We don't want to do goldfish. Okay, city or countryside?
City. I'm a city girl, born and raised Houstonian. So I love the city.
Okay. And last but not least, this one is going to really, I don't know, the viewers might want to get closer and listen to this because this is like the best question ever. Fresh Prince or Martin?
Martin, come on now. The jokes. It's the jokes. It's the jokes and Martin, their jokes were authentic. Like you could tell everything was not written when they were telling those jokes. And so yeah, Martin. I say Martin.
You said that confidently.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna throw in one more. I said that was the last one, but now I want to get you more because you were just so confident. Prince or Michael Jackson?
Oh, Michael Jackson. Yeah,
What?
Michael Jackson. I love the Jackson 5, and Michael Jackson was an amazing dancer, amazing singer. I think I can admire his leadership skills. Just being one of the youngest, and I mean, just leading the pack the way that he did. So much respect to Michael Jackson. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like this is gonna be a good chat today. We're vibing. You
Yeah.
good?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in your particular industry?
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree from Sam Houston State University in business and finance. I've always been good with numbers. All the women in my family, my immediate family, so my mom, my sisters, my daughter, we're all good with numbers. It's the weirdest thing. I cannot explain it,
It's a
but we
good
are
thing.
extremely good with numbers. So, undergrad from Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas. And then I went to graduate school a couple years later at Texas Southern University. I got my MBA. So my first job out of college, I was a loan officer. And so I learned a lot about the financial industry. I did an internship for several years at a bank when I was in college. So still in the math realm. Yeah, so I just knew I was going to do something in finance. So right now I'm a senior financial analyst. So I work with a lot of numbers, a lot of project managers, helping them think through their costs when it comes to their jobs and their projects and things like that. I work in the oil and gas industry, specifically construction. So we talk a lot about planning, strategizing, executing, and risk management at all times. So, yeah, that's what I do. I've relocated several times for work, to work in the middle of plants or to work as we're building our plants. So I have a lot of experience in that realm. So yeah, I love what I do. Finance is transferable, so it doesn't matter what industry I go to. I always have a job.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That probably answered my next question. But before I go there, beyond you and your finance industry, you also have your own business. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I have a professional development company where I career coach women that are like me that are in their industries and they have their different various backgrounds professionally. And I help them to when they feel stuck. So as we know, when we get into our profession, sometimes that imposter syndrome starts to kick in. And we start to look at our peers and think, they're a little bit smarter than me, or they have a little bit more experience than I do, or I don't belong in this room because you get a position that you feel like you're not ready for. So it's my job to help them to figure out what it is that's so great about them, what it is that gives them the competitive advantage, and then how to maximize their earning potential once we figure those things out. So
Money, money, money.
money, money, money. It all goes back to finance. So I even teach a lot of people how to negotiate. Believe it or not, a lot of people do not negotiate their salaries because of those reasons that I just stated regarding imposter syndrome. So I teach them how to be confident. A lot of it is just teaching them how to be confident in the skill sets and the experience that they already have, and teaching them how to speak to it so that it adds up. So it's a good time. I also speak. I also do some public speaking. So I speak a lot in regards to personal and professional development as well. So I do speaking engagements also. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I just spoke to some college students in Texas City, juniors and seniors. I did a resume and cover letter workshop. So I do a lot of workshops as well, just empowering people with knowledge that they're needing when they're even entering into the workforce as well. So yeah,
Ooh,
it's
and
a good
that is
time.
so needed. I'm glad you are pushing down and talking to the younger group about that because so I used to be a professional communications teacher, high school teacher. And
Nice.
yeah, and I taught back in the day when it was actually a required class, and now it's not required anymore. And you're seeing the negative effects of that in the real world where kids don't know how to interview, they don't know how to write a resume,
No.
they don't know what to do. And I'm glad that there's people like you that are doing that because that was what I really was very, very keen on when I was a professional communications teacher. I had a whole mock once a month. We did a mock interview, had them practice getting dressed up in suits and bring, have them learn how to write a resume. I mean, all of that is so important. And you're right. It is an art, and many don't know how to do it.
And you know what's so sad about what you're saying is all of the things that you're talking about. I was taught that stuff by my parents.
Mhm.
And so it is sad, because our students are not getting that education. That charity starts at home, and that's my belief. So a lot of children are just not getting this at home. So it is my responsibility. I feel that it is my responsibility to teach them these things. And then when they have questions or they want me to review their resumes just to make sure that they have the competitive advantage, then it's my job to help them through that. I am also a believer that our children are our future. And I stand by that. So we have to get them ready, even if we're not their parents. We have to prepare them and get them ready. Since we have the knowledge, we have to share it.
Right, absolutely. And it's a rewarding experience, when you get to take some time and work with a young person. We love adults. I love adults, but there's just nothing sweeter than the innocence of a person who really doesn't know.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're choosing not to know, they really don't know. Everybody doesn't come from a household of professional parents who would even know what to do either. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to say, "Hey, I got your time. listen to me, and you'd be surprised with that one conversation that you probably had with them yesterday has just landed them their future amazing first job. And so I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You're pulling at my heartstrings because
Oh.
that's what I love. So as we're kind of thinking about both worlds, right? So you could answer this question from any lens, either from your own company or from your finance industry. What are some current trends and developments within your industry that you're noticing?
So the main thing that I'm noticing is artificial intelligence.
Ah,
That is a huge thing that's going on right now on both sides, right? So in my business, it's really huge because I use it to help me with social media. I use it to help me with emails. I use it to help me with all these great ideas, and I even used it yesterday when I created my PowerPoint. I created it with artificial intelligence. So it is something that some people don't like, but it's also something that's needed because it shouldn't think for you, but instead it should give you some ideas for you to build off of. The number one thing that I feel with artificial intelligence is we still have to think. We can't expect, I'm not going to expect artificial intelligence to tell me or guide me down what to do, but give me a few ideas here and there. Yeah, I definitely will continue using that to my advantage. Some of the other new trends, of course, in finance, a lot of the laws and regulations are always changing. A lot of the policies are always changing. So just staying up to date with the changes, because the changes are based on what people are doing to try to get around some of the policies that exist right now. So as we know, with finance, people get very crafty. So we have to stay up to date on those as well. What are some of the other trends that I'm seeing? Those are the two biggest trends that I'm seeing right now in my industry, as it pertains to just those things. A lot of different technology items that are coming up as well. So those cybersecurity is another huge one. So it's one at my job that we focus on a lot. There's a lot of times that we get emails at work that from people we don't know, that are trying to remote into our system so that they can get all of our data. The company that I work for has a lot of proprietary information in the system because we are getting into spaces regarding hydrogen. We are getting into some spaces that have not just been done yet, and so there's a lot of proprietary information. So cybersecurity is another big one that is always changing, from month to month, from year to year. So those are some of the bigger ones.
I'll tell you, you'll hear it almost on most of my interviews on Chat with Charlie. When I ask them this question, AI just keeps coming up. And I've interviewed people from many different industries, and every time that answer is AI. And so it's a reoccurring one that just shows that it's not going anywhere. And we got to figure out a way to use it to our advantage and get comfortable with it because it's not changing. It's not moving away.
No, it's
Yeah.
and I'm not one of those people that's against artificial intelligence. I'm not well versed in a lot of the things that people are foreseeing artificial intelligence doing. But I will say for the things that I use it for the things that I've seen companies use it for, it is helpful. It is helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
So when you're kind of thinking about it, it made me think about this when you were saying some of the different trends and how you're going to would you say hydro? Would you say
hydrogen.
hydro? Hydrogen? Okay, look
Yep.
at this. I'm telling you, we're all learning in this space today. How do you stay up to date with all that information? Like, how do you continue to learn within your field if there's all those changes? You shared that laws are changing. What do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, so a lot of times what we do is we attend conferences. We attend a lot of workshops. What I like about the conferences that we attend is that they specifically have people from our company that will go through a demo. So they're going through a demonstration explaining all the components of how things are ever changing and what our products are and how our products work, how our products are developed, what goes into it. And so a lot of times it's a lot of conferences and workshops. It's a lot of professional development as well. So staying in the know with your industry trends, staying in the know with what's going on around you. So listening to a lot of podcasts in my space. Believe it or not, there are several different podcasts, just like the one that we're doing now, where people are educating you on all the things that are regarding any industry. I mean, you can look online right now on YouTube, listen to Apple Music, or anything like that. And whatever you want to hear about, it is there. It is there. So those are kind of some of the things that I am going to whenever I need to get, stay abreast of the industry knowledge that I need. Also doing courses, LinkedIn courses. I'm always a big proponent of LinkedIn courses. They are very good. They also have a lot of LinkedIn courses regarding all the industries as well as all the roles that are within these industries. So don't forget about your LinkedIn courses. And then I listen to a lot of webinars.
You have a lot of learning. You're hitting all four walls. You're like, okay, I'm gonna have podcasts, webinars, conferences. If Crystal wants the information, Crystal's gonna get the information. Yeah,
I'm a nerd at heart.
yeah, that's a good thing. That's awesome. And that's what we want people to know is that there are resources out there for you. So,
Yeah.
If there's something you don't know, then get out there and find that answer and figure it
Yeah.
out. Because it's a touch right now, 2024, it's just a touch of a button now. You could go to YouTube University, like you said, type in finance conferences, a whole list is going to pop up. So I am very intrigued with what you shared with that, because I think that's going to really help a lot of folks that may not know where to get this information.
Yeah, and your LinkedIn learning courses as well. So if you want to brush up on some industry knowledge, certainly go to LinkedIn. They have several different courses across many industries as well, so you can learn there also.
Yeah, absolutely. And LinkedIn has so many different connecting pieces. So that's
Yeah.
easy one-stop shop too. It's like you get to network and learn at the same time. What? So that's awesome. So when we're kind of switching gears to thinking about your expertise and your experience, what would you say would be some skills that you have found vital for your job? And what are the reasons behind that? Why do you think that's necessary?
Yeah, so in my job, it's going to sound very basic, but it's very applicable. Attention to detail. So in my job, I'm an analyst. I'm a senior financial analyst. So I analyze a lot of large data sets. So I have to be on alert. So one of the things that I have to do is I have to be extremely focused when I'm looking at these data sets, and I have to be extremely alert and aware. So attentiveness to detail is one of the biggest things that I have to have. I also have to be a good listener, because when I sit in these meetings with my project managers, with superintendents and general foremen, I have to listen to what they're saying as it pertains to productivity, as it pertains to how many dollars we're spending, as it pertains to all the materials and equipment that we're going to need in order to complete the job. So and the manpower that we need in order to complete the job. So I have to be a great listener as well. I have to stay brushed up on my finance and Excel, because we work a lot in Excel and many different softwares. So I have to keep myself alert and aware of all the systems that I work in as well. Believe it or not, every now and then I learn a new formula. And like I said, I am nerdy, so it makes my day when I learn a new formula. But I have to stay abreast of these things. I have to always be ready and willing to learn. Like I said, it sounds super basic, but these are just some of the things that I have to have. I have to be able to analyze, I have to be able to problem solve. I have to have my communication skills, strategic thinking. All of that takes part in the skills that I have to have in order to do my job. So it's a lot.
No, it's not basic at all. These are key pieces for your particular role that it changes. Some are transferable, some you need in all companies, but there's some things that are very specific to doing finance, such as you said, hey, you need to be really good at Excel. That wouldn't be something necessarily that somebody who wants to be a teacher would need to be very good
Yes.
at. Right. So
Yes.
it it's not basic. I think it's very important to speak to those things, because if somebody's interested and want to go into the finance world and you're not very good at Excel, you just heard it from Crystal, we may need to get on LinkedIn and take an Excel learning course.
Yeah.
Or go on to the actual Excel platform of Microsoft and see what offerings they have. So I don't think it's basic at all, because
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah,
It's
and
important.
sometimes people think they have the attentiveness to detail, but when I say attentiveness to detail or attention to detail, what I mean by that is you have to be a red flag magnet. So you have to be looking at data and you have to be calling out data when it doesn't make sense. So I look at a lot of trend analysis. So if something is not following trend, I have to be on alert. It has to be a red flag. It has to stick out to me. And I have to be speaking up about these things. I can't just catch it and not speak to it. So I have
Right.
to be catching these things as well as speaking to it. So there's a lot of trend analysis as well, as it pertains to attention to detail. But yes, at minimum, you need to brush up on your Excel skills before you step into the financial industry. Yeah.
Yeah, then you like you say, you got to be able to communicate with folks, because you're having meetings with all different types of folks. A
Yeah.
superintendent is going to be have potentially have completely different energy level and
Yeah.
expertise and knowledge than you talking to your colleague who also is a senior financial analyst, right? You got people that are out in the construction field, actually on the ground, boots on the ground, like my husband. And then you have people that are in the office, and so it's a lot of moving pieces. And it sounds like you get a chance to speak to a lot of different folks, and you got to have those communication skills to be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times when we talk about speaking to people that work in the field, they are very good at what they do. But there are some people that if they're not in a leadership position in the field, they don't understand full big picture. So
Mhm.
they think, when we talk about cost and scheduling and strategic planning, risk management and things like that, what we have to remember is that every project has a budget. Every project has a time frame that we have to have the projects done in, and we all have to be worried about risks, and we all have to be worried about safety. Safety is a big thing that we talk about in the construction industry. It's very important that people go home to their families when they're working out in the field. So that's very important. So I take the time to actually speak to and teach those that work in the field about productivity factors, about duration, scheduling. So if we have a client and they say, we should only be spending a week on pouring concrete, we need to stick to the week on pouring concrete.
Mhm. Or
That
less.
or less, because there's money associated with the manpower, with the extra manpower. We've only budgeted X amount of dollars for this week in manpower. And if we have an overrun of another week, then that's more money. And that's a lot of times what people don't understand. So those communication skills have to kick in, and you have to be a leader, because construction is a male dominated industry traditionally. So you have to there's a certain level of trust that you have to gain from them before they will even listen to you in the field. And I think I've done a very good job of that by just making sure that I have the knowledge to pass on.
Absolutely, which I always speak about is the ability to build relationships with people. So you don't have to be everybody's friend, but you need to know how to build a healthy relationship so that you can communicate effectively. And it sounds like that's something that you value and that you're doing when you're having these different conversations with different people. When you recognize you're in a male dominated field, that doesn't mean that you shrink and disappear. You just have to navigate through that with a strategic idea. And so I'm a strategic planner myself. So that's my role. I'm a strategic planning coordinator in the education field. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's all about strategy. And so I think that's a powerful highlight there, to recognize that that's some of those skills that you need to go into finance. Some people may think, oh, I get to go to finance, I never have to talk to anybody. I get to just stay behind the computer, because that's a lot of folks. They're like, I just want to run numbers. I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to do anything. And that's not the case anymore, which is why I love what I'm doing with communication with Linen Prep, is helping people, because there's not an industry that you can be in now and not talk to people.
No.
It just doesn't
No.
exist anymore. You
Impossible.
gotta talk. Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it is sometimes I do go above and beyond, but I am that person that I do take pride in going above and beyond, because when we're talking about projects, we work in project teams. We don't just work in big eyes and little U's. We're all project teams. I work with site directors, site managers, super, like I said, superintendents, project managers, and these are very major leadership. These people are in major leadership roles. So I can communicate from the top all the way down to the bottom. But like you said, it's networking. It's just treating people kindly and educating them, and having a plan. Like I said, I'm very strategic with these people that I work with, because I do understand that I am a female. So I earn their trust and their respect. And I also don't belittle them if they don't know one little thing that I feel like they should know. We're a project team.
So that kind of leads me into something else I would love to hear more about. You've kind of spoken to it a little bit with sharing that you're in a male dominated field, but have there been some organizational challenges beyond that, or even you can expand on that, that you face within your industry? And then talk to me a little bit about how you encounter that adversity and still were able to advance within your field.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that goes on. I've worked with a project manager. I'm not going to say some project managers. I've worked with a project manager that at one time was a male, a Caucasian male, and he was claiming my work. So the work that I was doing, he was saying that he was doing. And when I left the company, he had to be trained on how to do the job that he said
That he was doing.
that he was doing. So yeah, you'll run across and in all that, he was trying to create the picture that I was the one that didn't know what I was doing. So there's a lot of that yeah, there's a lot of that goes on in construction. It is truly like a family, like sometimes dysfunctional family. But like I said, I have not had many encounters like that. I got into construction because I didn't know anything about the operation side of business. I was a corporate accountant, and someone just recruited me when I got my master's degree, and said, "We want someone green. We want someone that doesn't know anything about the operation side, because we want to train you to be exactly what we want you to be." So I've had great experiences in my industry. But the number one thing I would say is what I stated before, is that it's a male dominated industry. So a lot of times, you know, they will tell you to sit down, look pretty, and be quiet. They won't say it, but their actions will say it. So you have to tread very lightly, because the male ego can sometimes be a little fragile. So it's just, like I said, not belittling. It is the number one thing that I found that helps, and contributing that value that they need, so that they can start to give you that respect. Another thing that I would say in my industry that I've ran across a couple times is that on the industrial side, at least, it kind of dries up. So oil and gas has its ebbs and flows. So sometimes there's work and sometimes there's not. So the times that there's not is just, you know, like keeping that strategic plan in your back pocket, always having a plan B and C. And that's what's helped me out over all these years.
Mm-hmm. You know what I hear that's just gonna be like, "Brr, brr, brr." I'm just so excited to hear is that you share that adversity, which being in a male dominated field, which I think has been many of us, how you still spoke up, you still shared your ideas, you still communicated
Yeah.
what you want, and you didn't just go silent. And I think there are so many women that need to hear that, because I know as I'm coaching people, I hear that a lot, where people shrink themselves to try to appease who they're working with, and that doesn't do anything but make people lose respect for you. So instead, you have to be able to figure out a way to still amplify your voice, still speak up, still be confident, but also leave room and space for you to be welcomed to do that. And it takes a level of strategy And it's not an easy thing to do. But when I was listening to you, it's what I coach people all the time to make sure you're doing. So you need to not just sit back and let somebody else run the show. If you've got something valuable to say, then you need to speak up. You need to say it, no matter if it's shunned and they tell you to sit and look pretty without saying sit and look pretty. That's your opinion, sir. You can say that. You can feel that way. I don't feel that way. So I'm going to keep going about my business and showcase what I can do. So kudos.
Yeah,
Hats off. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so as we're wrapping up, which I could sit here and talk to you, Crystal, like all day. That's why we're gonna go to lunch. But for those that are watching, and thank you for those that are watching. But what advice would you give someone who's interested in entering within your industry or being a business owner like yourself? What advice would you give them?
Well, the number one thing I would say is if you want something, truly go for it. I love working in oil and gas and the construction industry. So I welcome it, but I would always encourage people to, when you get into the industry or your role, to find a sponsor and a mentor. So your mentor is someone that's going to take it upon themselves to groom you, to train you, to teach you those things that you really need to know when you're coming into the organization or when you're coming into your role or your industry. The sponsor is someone that's going to speak for you when you're not in the room. So those are two very big things that you can do. One strategic way to know who you want to be your sponsor and your mentor is to join different organizations that they have at your company. So at my company, I'm the chair of an employee resource group. So I've met tons of people across the organization that have been there. I've met some that have been there for 20 years, some that have been there for 15. I've worked with directors, VPs. I've worked with some very large people within the organization just from leading that employee resource group. So I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to network. Get to know any and everybody. Now, the reason why I say network is because number one, you need it for when you run into a roadblock in your job. You need to know who to reach out to that can get you past that roadblock, so that, because you need to be finding solutions. So it's nothing wrong with finding a problem. Just make sure that you take initiative to find a solution to it, and people will respect you for it. I would also say stay hungry for knowledge and seek the knowledge. Don't just say, I don't know this. If you don't know something, go out and seek the knowledge. And if you can't, I've provided many different ways that you can seek the knowledge, but I can't say it enough. If you're not well versed and don't have knowledge in a certain area, please go seek the knowledge. It's out there for your viewing pleasure, and it'll make you so much better.
Crystal, that's awesome. That's great advice. I'm telling you, I think even people who aren't in your industry could take the pieces of advice that you shared, because it's things that really will apply to other industries as well. So I just want to thank you so much for being on Chat with Charli. I appreciate you. That's what we're here to do. You volunteered your time, and I'm very grateful and thankful for you doing that, because ultimately the goal of Chat with Charli is to really just be able to help other people who are interested in going into these different fields have some of that insight that they may not get from within their own circle of folks. Everybody doesn't have a Crystal, everybody doesn't have a Charli. And so we're kind of bringing the Crystal and the Charlies and some of these other great people that have come on my podcast to them. And so they can no longer say they don't have that resource. So I appreciate you volunteering your time. It was very enjoyable talking to you today.
Absolutely, Charli. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to our lunch.
Yes. Well, everybody, thank you for being here. And that concludes Chat with Charli. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.